And Beyond the 90 therapy is back. Oh my God. That one. Oh, that's hard to take. And it's a completely different reason compared to some of the other rants that we've had there as well. But Anil, again, thanks for joining, man. Where do we even start with that one?
Try and pretend that the last 10 minutes didn't happen. That's probably the best thing we can do. Up until they scored their first goal, I think we played so well. We played them off the park. We had so many opportunities. We should have put the game completely to bed. And then what is it? Is it mentality? Is it tiredness? Is it a combination of the two? I was disappointed to concede even one goal because I felt that was really not a fair reflection of the game at that point in time. But then the second one, just 2 minutes later, and it's an unlucky deflection, and it's game over, and then players kind of lose their heads, and then it goes to 3, and then I still think
Can't
on the
believe
overall
it's 3-0.
context,
I
yeah,
genuinely
I
can't
can't
believe
believe
it's 3-0.
3-1.
I can't believe we lost
Yeah,
3-0.
3-1.
3-1 feels like a
Yeah.
3-0.
It wasn't as bad as you made it, but it was pretty bad. Look, the fact is that in the second half, we started the second half really well, and we had Mavadidi through 1-on-1. He just has to like side foot it in. He puts it wide. Oh my god, that was frustrating. But then we make an even better chance with Ricardo to Daka. Daka can't even hit the target. Even worse, I think, being a striker. We had a goal ruled out that I think on the replays and VAR shows that it shouldn't have been ruled out. So conceivably on another night, it's a 4-0 absolute battering, a bit like the Southampton game. And instead we've somehow conspired to lose the game. And it's just a sickener, isn't it? Look, the only thing I would say the positives though is that still for most of that game, we were the dominant team. We played great football. We showed how good team we can be. And look, despite the loss, we're still top of the table. We're still 6 clear. I think if we play for how we did the majority of that game for the rest of the season, no one needs to worry. It should be absolutely fine to not only go up, be champions. But yeah, it's just a sickener. That's just like how we've lost that. I don't know. I think Maresca, I wonder if he'll be angry, sad, whatever. Like that dressing room. That for me as a fan, that's the lowest I felt since relegation, if I'm being honest. That for me, this game probably feels like maybe that Everton game where that was 2-2. Madison missed his penalty, and you just sort of felt a bit of despair. I wouldn't say felt just despair, but just
It's more the Tottenham
horrible.
game. We
Yeah,
lost
yeah, yeah,
3-2, where it was just like, how's that happened? And that one
yeah.
was different. That was self-inflicted. I mean, I want to kind of, I will, because I'm raging at the moment because it's
I
just so
sort of
much.
feel this
I
one was
want to,
self-inflicted
I
too,
want to
though,
get.
Neil, if I'm being honest.
You're right, and that's what's so frustrating about it. If I would take it
Yeah,
back to the beginning, just in terms of the way
yeah,
we set up, putting Hamza into the team, a lot of people went, "Oh my god." To be
yeah.
honest, he actually had a pretty good game for most parts
Yeah,
of it.
he wasn't at fault. I think well, what happened from what I can remember I know Vestergaard made a few mistakes. He by the end did not have his best game. I think he got rattled though towards the end. And was it near the end we were like trying to play it out? And was it McAteer that lost it? Or was it Ricardo and he just got played in? But yeah, I mean that's the thing is they haven't even scored particularly good goals. Even that free kick at the end, it's just a deflection of one of our players, or was it their player that's put it into the back of the net? So yeah, just how that happened, I don't know. It was just quite depressing, and I think what's even worse, you could just see how much they were giving it and they're loving it, and yeah, they'll probably win their next game, so they'll probably have the best winning game streak in the league. But we could have put that all to bed, and it's such a big swing. It's literally that was a 6-pointer, 10 minutes away from being 12 points clear, and then this would be a very different beyond the 90, wouldn't it?
I know, and
Instead, it's just a bit sad.
it was so good. Like, I mean, the beginning, we were talking about this when we were watching the game. It was about the first 10 minutes we had to ride the wave out. And for the first half in general, we played some great football. Arguably, we played better in the second as well.
I think we did,
But
yeah, up
we
until the
we
goal. Yeah.
we were taking shots from outside the target. We were taking on leads, and we're like, right, we're going to control your pressure, and that's something that I was really impressed with. But to see it throw away like that, which we'll get into in a second, because I think I just need to calm down a little bit from it. But the way we played the ball, played into midfield, played it out to the wingers were swapping over. Daka was dropping deep. We were playing some fantastic football in that first half, and to be honest, we deserved to go into that first half on top.
Absolutely, and then we deserve to go ahead even more after that. So it's kind of funny because like our game plan, it worked for 80 minutes, and then probably what went wrong is we then couldn't play out of their press. But I don't even think they pressed us that effectively. I mean, they certainly did for that first one. They robbed us of the ball, and then I guess that's always a slight disadvantage of the style, is that like both our best moments, but it's also the highest risk is when you're trying to play out, right? Because you're trying to beat the pressure. If you beat the pressure, it opens up completely and you can make these killer chances. But then you've got to be clinical in terms of taking those chances. So I don't think it's ever that much of a mistake if you lose it. And also, even if you do give the ball away, you've got multiple chances thereafter to prevent the goal from going in. So I think that's the kind of frustrating element, that each time it's not like the mistake has then been straight through to someone who scored. They've then had time to either put a shot and it's come deflected, or they've passed to someone. The fast one, it's an own goal. It's come off him. Man, he's scored a lot of OGs for Leicester, hasn't he, in his career? That's really unfortunate. Even the last one, we've given away sloppily and had to make a bad challenge. At first, I thought it was a penalty. So you think, oh, well, these are not penalties. It won't be 3-1, but then it was 3-1 anyway because it deflected off it. So that's a problem. Now, why is that happening? We probably have to ask ourselves. It could be mentality. The most likely thing is players do get tired. That is a fact. And as you get tired, you start making mistakes. And if you make a mistake, that's what leads to it. So does that mean that we maybe should have made some more subs, maybe in the defensive phase? Perhaps that's something to think about. But really, for me, it's just, I've said to you this all season, that I think even though Leicester's a great team, my one issue I've always had is I don't think we're clinical enough, which sounds ridiculous for a team that scores as many goals as we have. But what I mean by that is that, like, we should be like, say Manchester City, what they do so well is that the game's over by like 60 minutes. They're 3-0 up and they're cruising. So the last 30 or 30 minutes is boring because they're not even trying, and the other opposition can't even lay a glove on them. And that's why they can, like, keep fresh, because you're just resting the team. And we could have done that today. We could have wrapped that game up completely. And they would have been silent. Their fans would have been going home early. They would have been booing their manager, all of that stuff. Yeah. And then, yeah. So yeah, we've got to be more clinical. We've got to be more ruthless. And also, it's not just a case of like, when someone misses a chance and it's like Ricardo misses a chance, like, okay, well, fair enough. You're not really, even though he's a good player, you're not renowned for your goal scoring prowess. But those front three, that's what you're in the team for. So when you're given chances like that, when you're Mavadidi and Daka, can't miss really. And for both of them to miss in the same game, if either one of those goes in, it's 2-0 and they're not coming back from that. So I'll hand over to you. I'm a bit speechless, really, to be honest with you, because still up until that point, I genuinely thought we were brilliant. And then in the end, you'd have to say we were crap because of a 10-minute spell, a capitulation, and it's over.
Two offside goals, an offside goal. It was 2 deflected goals. It was all sorts of just rubbish. And then we threw it again.
But it's not. But I don't think we can say we were unlucky, though. That's a bit of a difference there. Or even against Borough, where we played badly. What I'm saying, for me, I think the TLDR, if I have to be like really ultra critical, is just say Leicester were not ruthless enough and didn't take their chances. And in a game like that, when you're playing another team that's going for the title, when you get your chances, you've got to take them. And we're not talking about half chances. We're talking about clinical, high XG, expect someone to score. Like, you can't miss those chances in the Premier League, right? You can't miss those chances in the Premier League. And if you were to miss those chances, then it always opens the door the other side, and we've lost the game. And that's what it comes down to. So we've got to practice the finishing, and that for me is the case for it, right? I mean, I do still think we have to say, though, that like to then go from the game being 1-1 to losing the game is awful. This is much worse even than the Ipswich games, which are like all three of these games. Then we played Ipswich twice, Leeds once. The first game, to be fair, they really deserved their win. But all three of those games, we could easily have come away with all of the points. In 2 of those games, we dominated them as well. And like I say, is it switching off? Is it getting tired? And why I'm frustrated is this has been the case for a while now. I would say even not just the season we got relegated, but the back end of the previous season, which was, of course, the Spurs game that we're talking about, it happened as well. So what is it in the team? Because it's not the same people that are playing in the team, really. So many people have changed over. I suppose Ricardo is still in the team, but I don't think he was necessary to blame there. But why is it that we lose our heads and we haven't got it? I don't know, Neil. But yeah, it's just depressing. It's depressing.
It really is. And it was just... I'll come into, because normally I go through the game in chronicle order, but we almost need to do the beginning first and then kind of work to the back. But I'm too,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just too. Right, let's get into some of the bits as well. So we'll get into the first bit. So I think the first goal that we scored in about 15 minutes from the fastest, actually his fastest header, really well worked goal. KDH coming in, Daka then tracked forward a training ground routine, flicked it on, and then Fast was there at the back post, the header. Yeah, I know it seems nothing in comparison now, but we worked that really well.
That was a great goal, and I think we should talk about more than that. I mean, for us to lose the game, I would have thought that what would have happened is that they would have started really fast. We wouldn't be able to play up from their pressure. They'd got on top of us and they might get an early 1 or 2 goals. And then maybe we start recovering towards the end, but it's just too little too late. And that's the story. And we're like, well, fair play. You know, they played better than us. But that's not what happened. So actually, everyone was sort of saying, oh, it's really important that we survived the first 10 minutes. We absolutely did. We started making half chances. We had quite a few little pot shots. Like KDH just went, well, I won't say just went wide. It went wide by quite a bit, but we were having quite a few chances. And we were always saying, like, some of us were watching it together, how it's like, okay, this is good. You know, it's not necessarily testing the keeper, but it's saying we're attacking, we're the protagonist. You know, we're asking you the question, watch out, Leeds. So we keep playing away in the game, still better. They had one nice moment where Nyoto did a back heel, or someone did a back heel and it ended up with him and he didn't get it, but we defended that well. And yeah, then we have this corner and it's a superb goal. At first, I thought it was just a bit of a lucky header and, you know, we got lucky off the break, but we didn't. When you watch it in the replay, we've played it in, Daka's run in, done a superb little head over into space, and what a lovely finish to score. Well done, well fast, and we're loving it. And then I think afterwards as well, we maintained control of that half. We actually, what was surprising, we didn't have more possession at half, which surprised me. But I think it's because we just let them have the ball between their 2 centre backs, passing it between them, and we continued to look threatening. I think there was like one period, maybe in sort of 23, 24 minutes, we thought, oh, hang on a minute, it's getting a bit basketball. We just need to kind of slow it down. But we did. And then we retained control again and we were making the threat and getting the ball. And I just felt we did really, really well in that first half. And it was great. There was one point, I think, towards the end of the first half where it was even getting boring, but in a good way. I was like, yeah, we're just completely killing the vibe from the Leeds team. They're not doing anything. It's far cry from what happened at the end of the match, but I thought we'd basically navigated the hard bit, and then, you know, so to kind of keep pressing ahead, and you know, then you think, okay, well, then I'm a bit worried because the second half they're not going to be that poor, or we're not going to make them look that poor again. They're almost certainly going to come out in the second half absolutely fast and furious and making tackles, and they didn't. If anything, they started that even worse, and we started great, and we started making chances early on, and then we had brilliant move then with what happened first? Was it Mavadidi or the offside goal? I forget which one
Oh, it
happened,
was.
but
She will find that.
yeah.
We had the all in that space of time, man. Still can't believe that happened. It was the Mavadidi in 59 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So that should have been game over.
Daka,
That was such a good
sorry,
move. Yeah.
Daka
Yeah.
first, where Vestergaard
Yeah.
off the post, Daka puts it in. It should have
Yeah.
been a goal that was given.
That was before Mavadidi, was it?
Then 3 minutes
Okay.
later, it was Mavadidi misses an
Right.
absolute sitter. And then
Yeah.
72 minutes, Daka misses an even easier chance than that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really quite arctic. And you know, the thing was is that I remember even when Mavadidi missed, I was like really quite pissed, I have to say. But I was still thinking, wow, we're still making so many good chances here. We're like able to pick the pockets and cut them apart, and we'll probably get another one, even though we really should have put that one away. And I do think that's something that Mavadidi, even though he scored goals, he's not clinical at a crucial moment. That's something he's got to develop, I think, to really be a top class player. And then we made the chances even better. Ricardo skips through, he plays the pass. You know, if you could pick one person, especially in the form it is in, it probably would be Patson Daka. What is he doing? I cannot believe he's not even put it on target. I will say one thing that's interesting is that I've said on this show a few times that what Patson's bad at is he's not good at the finesse finish. It's like when he scores, he tends to like lever it and get his foot through it. He had a chance in the first half, which it went onto the crossbar. I think it was probably going over anyway, but Meslier made the save. But if you look at that, he's hit that with his left foot kind of he's shimmied it onto it and he's just hit it hard. So this time round, he's tried to just finesse it into the side corner, and he's ended up missing the corner. But regardless, I mean, a top class striker that's probably getting paid 40 grand a week or something like that. Yeah, I mean, that's embarrassing, bro.
It's criminal. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what you've trained your
That's
entire
my point.
career
Yeah,
to do,
yeah.
one-on-one with the keeper, and you've gone one-on-one, and you've got plenty of time to pick your pass, pick where you want to do it, stop, think, have a drink, come back to the game and go, right, I just need to put it. Lot of strikers
Say the
instinct.
keeper somehow made the save there, I would still be angry. Say he put it on target, but it didn't go
And
in,
it come
I'd
off the
still be
post. You're
angry.
like, oh,
Yeah,
how's he
yeah,
done
something
that?
like yeah, but this is even worse. This is just like truly horrendous.
And it
Like, you know,
dribbled. It just went.
yeah,
It didn't even
that's
like
like
if he hit it with like a fatal where he just completely skied it and got it wrong. That's one thing. He takes his time and he just puts the goals here and he just does this. And the ball literally, and I'm like, how is that even? And I think I've been in the channel. I've defended Daka a lot, and I genuinely think he's a good player. And he did some such good movements in this game. His hold up play, his bringing people into the game, it doesn't get talked about enough. But when you are a striker and you miss opportunities like that, that is what people are going to talk about.
yeah, up until that point, I think he had like a really good game. He got an assist. He was linking play
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I mean, you're paid to put it in the onion bag if you're a striker, and those moments are where you've got to come alive, and he hasn't been. So it's gutting. Um, yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens if he gets benched for the next one or whatever, because he had a bad game against Borough as well there. But yeah, that's just a painful one to take. And yeah, as you say, you work on it all day. He's got to fix up on that. That's unforgivable. And it's difficult to say because, you know, he could have missed something like that and then Mavadidi scores his one and then it probably doesn't matter so much. But, you know, it's like the mentality is the ruthlessness. It's being calculated. And that's what just feels so well. There was like actually a shot near the end then when they were 2-1 up before they even went 3-1 up and it went to Daka and his eyes were like, kill me now sort of thing. Because he knows at the end of the day, that's what, you know, you've cost probably your team the game there. They've done everything. And you know what, in the end, though we can kind of say the mentality and stuff like that, which is definitely true. You know, it's easy to understand why you've lost your heads though, because you know, you're playing so well. You're playing in the back line, you're dealing with the pressure well, and you're just thinking, what's wrong with you guys? You got to do your job, we're doing mine, and then you lose your concentration at the crucial part. But that's still got to be said that we've lost concentration there. And we've done that. Enzo said that it's happened quite a few times now already this season. It's our 6th defeat of the season, which for a team that is supposedly the best championship team of all time, Reading only lost 3 times in their record-breaking season. So,
We
you
only
know, I
lost 3
think it's
times when we won the league.
yeah. I mean, that's a shorter season though. But I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's fair to say that we're maybe not quite as good as we think we are. But look, on a positive message, for most of the game, we still played brilliant. I think like you can still see exactly what we're trying to do and how to get there. So you've got to fix 2 things. That's the crucial thing. Number one, you've got to finish the finishing. Like you got to take your chances. You know, it's as simple as that. You want to be a top team, you got to finish. If you're going to play football in this way, then we're generating a specific type of chance, which is this one-on-one with the keeper. You've got to be able to take them. If the team's not capable of taking them, you've either got to bring in new players or change the way that you play. I don't think we need to change the way that we play. Maybe we don't need to even sign players, but they really got to get on top of it. It's too often they do this now that they've had these gilt edge chances missed. That's number one. And the other one is that then we are conceding goals late on. We're not concentrating, and what's happening there, and that's a recurring issue.
yeah.
I think the issue is though is that like you know because we've always said, for example, that we think that Wout Fass has a mistake in him. Vestergaard, obviously, before this season, people hated him, wanted him completely out of the club. He had an interesting game because some parts of the game he played really well. But then in the end, he's probably had a stinker because he's given away that free kick. He's kind of at fault for the second goal. So he's kind of lost his concentration. Because that's the thing, again, like a good leader, like I think you've got to give them credit. But like Wes Morgan and Robert Hoof, you know, when the going got tough,
They stood up.
yeah, or for example, like say for example, we also lost to Arsenal 2-1, if you remember, during the title season, and that was a really sickening one as well. To be honest with you, that was probably even more sickening because I thought at that game, oh my god, we'll never ever 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 get a chance better than this to win the Premier League, and we've done it because Vasilevsky, who was in actually for Hoof in that game instead,
Hmm.
kicked out and gave the free kick away. But in that game, we went down to 10 men and we were defending like lions, and there was like real kind of leadership and stuff like that. Whereas this one, it's like after conceding the first one, you can't concede such a simple goal, even if it's a deflection on the second one. And the thing is look, before the deflection, we've done like a giveaway for them even to get a ball there at the end. So what's the answer? Do we need to start pumping it a bit more longer towards the end of the game to be a bit more on the safe side? But then you're inviting the pressure on. It's difficult to say, but we've got to work on it. I don't know. I wonder if it's something that they're going to have like a heart to heart in the team and be like, what is it? I
Yeah,
think we just don't have enough cool, calm heads at the back, if I'm being honest. I think all of them, Vestergaard the same, they are still a bit of a hot head. Like, where's that sort of like, do you know when things are getting really tense, having a player that is just like, give me the ball? Like, I know he's a different position, but I think Luka Modric for Real Madrid is one of the best players like this. Like, I remember England being 1-0 up in the World Cup semi-final, and he's like, give me the ball, give me the ball. I got this. Don't worry, guys. Give me the ball. I'm going to win you the game. Right. He directly didn't win it, but he just completely ran the show. I think we need someone like that in the team. Maybe it's Winks. I don't know. He did give one
all
giveaway that
right
almost
today,
got in the
but
goal.
yeah,
Yeah. I
he's
think
well,
he was
he
overall
he
solid.
sets his
Yeah.
standards so high that
Yeah.
today I don't think he was bad, but I just think he was just below his normal levels.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying, and this is the problem with the Premier League, is you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to put you under pressure. So the thing is that you need to have that resilience. You need to have those people that when it's getting tense can still play that style. Like it's easy to play that style when there's kind of nothing happening, but when it's getting tense and the crowd is getting on top of you, like, do you know what's kind of a bit depressing is at the end of that game, there was some shots of some of our players and they just looked like they wanted the ground to swallow them up. Like there was one of Fatawu, he was standing there and he was just like, you can hear all the Leeds fans getting leery. And maybe for a young player, he needs something like that. So he can know what it's like to be in a hostile atmosphere. But that's where we've got to grow as a team. It's a recurring theme as well. It's not just a one-off. If it was a one-off, you'd feel upset, be like, okay, fair enough. But this is like several degrees worse than the Ipswich one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just the manner that if it was the same thing, it was it was so because we were so I was before 60 off minutes I was preparing to come on this stream and talk about how beautiful some of that was the best football we've
Yeah.
seen this season.
I bet the
The way
title
that
of,
we put them
of this
open,
episode's changed quite a lot in that last 10 minutes,
yeah,
hasn't
and the way that I've had a thumbnail ready, we got Fastest face on
it?
it. I've had all this stuff ready to go. Throw it in the bin. But that's why I think that's what makes it so annoying as well, is because we went from such highs in the game,
Yeah.
such brilliant. And bearing in mind, this is only with this team. If Enzo gets his way, gets some players in, we come up another level. But you can't get rid of this mentality of like even for the first goal, Vestergaard, who we've both sang the praises for, kicks it back into game. Kicks it back and Leeds players going, brilliant. Put that on a plate for me. Puts it away, and we went great. This is what we and we thought it was going to be 1-1 at that point. That one was again, it completely against the run of play, Roberts. But you give somebody again, you do some brilliant defending, some brilliant aerial attacks, but you just throw it away with a stupid little back heel, and that takes us out of the game.
Yeah, well, look, I say, I mean, that mistake can happen, but at 1-1, we lost our heads there. We must have done because how we given away then 3 in the last 10 minutes? That's ridiculous. Like we were still so far the dominant team that we could easily have won the game. Like I know we kind of changed it to more seeing it out rather than directly attacking, but even 1-1 is still, would be like, oh, what a frustrating result, but a point is still pretty good. And yeah, I think all those guys do have to look at themselves to be like, why has that happened then? That's very frustrating. And just 2 minutes later, that's like a cardinal sin. You can't do that. And it's just so weird because like in the first half, it's like we scored and it's like, okay, well, don't concede one right away. Didn't kept it solid. Then like, okay, yeah, make sure you see it out to half time. We did. Then it's like, okay, let's start the second half and just make sure we're ready for this wave of Leeds attack and play. No problem. Okay, now we've played it in. Now let's start challenging them. We did. They were completely second best. You could see their fans were like, fuck, we're getting played off the. Sorry, pardon my language. We're getting played off the park here. And oh yeah, what a
It
sickener.
is. It is. It almost need time to calm down and then get, because I'm not thinking straight in terms of that just because of what's happened. But again, everything was in the right spot. We were creating chances. At times we were tearing them apart. We were winning the ball back high up in the pitch. And at times Leeds didn't know what to do with us. And you could tell by the atmosphere was silent. And we could hear the Leicester fans go, yeah, we're loving this, we're loving this. And we just don't reward our fans. And Enzo must be absolutely, I'm hoping it's come back to what you said. This is the moment where you're going to hear the crowd outside, and they're going, "We're coming for you. We're coming for you." This is our Arsenal moment.
Yeah,
When they
that's what we
look
have
at
to
us
turn them
and he goes,
into.
"Open the doors to change room." Go, listen to them.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
think
yeah,
they're coming for
yeah,
our title.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Are
Oh,
you gonna
maybe you should be a
hide?
manager, Neil. You'd be pretty good. That is
I'll be
exactly.
useless, mate. But that's what
I
you'd
don't
open
know
the
that.
door, and that's what
Yeah,
you'd open them, and that's what Ranieri did. And he goes, listen to them. Look at the
yeah,
profile. Look at their Instagram
yeah,
profiles.
yeah,
They're all
yeah,
shirtless, like they've won a
yeah,
trophy.
yeah.
That's what Leicester City need to do, and we need to just get together and go right. You probably see it again if you watch back the live stream, because even in the chat now, to be fair, they've been not too bad. And the Leeds fans are big up Leeds fans. But this is something that we need to, again, we get our hands on and go, is this what you want to do in this position? So who's going to be stand up and counted? And that's how you've got to do this from now on, because it's not like we were terrible. It's that gut wrenching feeling. And I think
Mate, well, we're
after that Leeds
terrible. We
game,
were great. We were great up until like because it's yeah. Firstly, I want to say what you've just said there. I 100% agree. I hope he is doing that. He really does need to do that and be like. I would be like, I want you to listen to this and take this in
yeah,
and remember this pain and remember it
feeling
actually
that gut.
for the rest of your life as a footballer, so this never happens again. Because the last time something like this, I would actually say was Dini Day, if you remember that, where it was just like, although that one we didn't even play that well, but that was a game where like you're seconds away from the playoff final and then you've lost it within 90 seconds. And you got to remember, how did you let that happen? Why didn't someone make a foul higher up the pitch? Why did we lose our heads? Why did why could you switched off mentally because you thought you'd won the game and then the game kept going? Why did you miss the penalty? You got to keep a think all these kind of things in your head. So I hope he does do that. I will say that the next league game against QPR is absolutely huge. You've got to win that regardless. FA Cup, no one really cares.
Not after this.
Yeah, not after
Play,
this one.
play
But
code.
yeah, no, I've just got to say that the sickening thing is that if we did it, but we certainly after the last Leeds game, we said we have to pay them their dues. That they in
Is
the
that
game at the King
true?
Power.
I don't think it's that high.
I wouldn't be that surprised because we had so many clinical chances, right? But yeah, look, what I was going to say is that like their first game against us, we gave them props. They totally deserved to win.
Mhm.
After they scored, we felt like we were never going to score against them. They really they put us off our game. We couldn't play our style. They totally deserved that game. But today, I just cannot believe we've even lost that game by more than the first game because it was the opposite. For 80 minutes of that match, we've handled everything they could throw in at us. We were cutting them apart, making opportunities, absolutely top quality football. And at the end of the day, it's all worthless. It's all worthless. He might as well have played crap for the entire game and fluked one at the end. Who was it? It was against Cardiff or something where Cassidy scored that goal right at the end and we really didn't play that good. I mean,
Maybe that's karma coming back to catch us up in that sense. But
yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's self-inflicted, and that's the worst thing. You
yeah,
think about how much we've improved as a team since the last time we played Leeds. And for Leeds, for the first part, I remember we were talking about this. Ricardo was firefighting for the first 10 minutes of that in the first fixture, just putting out all the fires because Leeds were all over us and swarmed us. We got better at the way we played football, and it showed in this game. I don't think Leeds were as good as they were in the previous game. However, it shows you how many levels we've come up. Taking that same thing and then going, the football that we played. Fatal's a great example again. Takes the ball, makes a great run into the middle, and then just for some reason hits it, and it goes off like a firework. No idea
yeah.
where it was going. And it was just going, that wasn't the worst one of them, but that was another one. I was like, come on, man. Enzo hasn't taught you to do that.
No, but that's something that Fatal will get told off about, that by the impetuousness of youth. So I think you can forgive that one a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I just think, no, I think to be fair, what you've got to say is that as well, after they've got the equaliser, Leeds then found the belief and they've won the game. Like, you do have to give them some respect. And what did they change? Well, they started managing to win the ball back high up the field, and they kept doing it, and they were kind of relentless. They made some substitutions. The fullback scored the second goal, didn't he? I mean, the funny thing is, again, I'm trying to give them some credit. I mean, I still think we were by far the superior team, but I do have to say that then, yeah, after you get to 1-1, they wanted it. They didn't just want to sit there and think, oh, okay, we'll take 1-1. That's a good result, kind of thing. Well, I've got a feeling we would have still sat back there and maybe not pushed on, right? I mean, maybe that is the issue as well, is he still thought, okay, that's disappointing, but it's just another Ipswich, will go for 1-1. Whereas they've gone for the jugular and been like, no, we really want it. Let's feed off the crowd and everything. The crowd, which was totally in uninteractive until then, but that's fair enough. I mean, that's goals change games. So, yep, a sickener for that. Yeah, as I say, we kind of speechless, kind of saying the same thing over and over, but that's where it is. Yeah,
I know, and it's the way that they can. Again, it's the way that I remember we were watching the game for the second goal, for when it went in, and we were just sitting there going, "Is this happening? Is this happening to us?" And it was happening, but I was like, quite not believing this, because again, it was another deflection, but they take their chance. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about, sometimes at the end of the day, XG, all this kind of stuff. If you don't take your chances, you don't win.
Yeah. I mean, the only score that matters is the one in the top left-hand corner, so they won it. Fair play to them. Yeah, I think it's just, we can say that we just got to get improve at those two factors. I say there's two factors. Got to be more clinical with the finishing, because if you go 2-3-0 up, it's irrelevant. They're not coming back into it. Momentum's huge in football, in sports.
Yeah.
And secondly, when you do have adversity and crisis, you've got to be able to deal with it, because maybe that's like a slight worry. Burnley are guilty of this season as well. After a great season in the Championship, is if you go up, well, what happens if you're going to have bad days against good teams? It's easy when you're in high confidence. That's why it's even more surprising that something like this has happened, because we played brilliantly for the whole game. Yeah, we did lose our last game, but if you think about it, were we going to bounce back? And we found out in the first 10 minutes, we were saying, oh, do you know what? This looks way better even than the first Leeds game. In fact, and I regret saying this now, I even said, you know what, no matter what happens with the result in this game, I'm still feeling pretty happy, because we're showing that we can play really well. Now, that's why I still have some positivity, because I still think that, people say, oh, is it a crisis for Leicester? Is it a mini blip? Well, it's definitely a mini blip, because we lost 2 games in a row. But and it's the same 2 teams that we lost last time. But it's just a fact, because we could have sewn up the title by now with 2 wins. That's the reality, pretty much. But yeah, it's just that well, we do have to bounce back now. That is still a thing. And, if you look at our fixtures, I think this is worth talking about. So someone asked in the group chat, are you nervous? Do you think we'll end up in the playoffs? I mean, that's pretty unlikely. You can never say never in these things.
I still genuinely think, I
would think so. I would think so, because I think that, based off that performance, and also I don't think we'll miss 2 chances as easy as that in a game again. I can see us missing one of those chances that easy in a game quite often, if I'm being honest, because I do feel that happens quite a lot with Leicester, or we make the bad decision in the final third. But yeah, I just think that if you look at the fixtures, just to be fair, right, we do have some more tricky games coming up. So QPR at home is the next game. They made it difficult for us, but that was their stadium, Loftus Road. I was going to call it Ellen Road. Ellen Road was tonight. So this time around, it's the King Power. Yeah, I'll ignore the FA Cup game. I mean, maybe we could even get a result there.
We'll look at that for the end of the month, because that's going to be our next month of games, barring if we get around to the FA Cup.
Sunderland played really well against us last time. Now, since then, they changed their manager, and then they changed their manager again. So I've got a feeling that if Mick Beale was in charge, I'd be very confident in that game.
Yeah.
Now they've got a new coach. I imagine they might go somewhere back to their style. So we'll have to see that. That's not an easy place to go ever. So that's a challenging game. Hull, they have had a very good spell recently. They beat Southampton away. They got some really talented players there. They also beat us earlier in the season. they were really lucky with that win, but I think it's a totally different proposition this time round. So we'll have to see what happens there. The Southampton game, what's interesting is they went on that ridiculous run of form. Now they've actually themselves lost twice in the last couple of games, a bit like us. So anything could happen there. So I'll be honest with you, it's funny. Since that's happened to them, I felt a little bit less nervous about that because I thought they were going to go on the unbeaten run. But I do think basically what I'm saying is those 3 games are, I do think there's risk there. I think afterwards, though, the fixtures clean up a little bit. I think Norwich are battling for the playoffs, but I don't see them making it. I don't think they were that good, to be honest with you. And after that, it eases up. So I still think we've got plenty of games that basically I feel that like we're 10 wins away probably from the title, something like that, or going up.
Should have probably been 8 by now, but what can we do?
Yeah, exactly. So I still think we'll get them. So I think it should still be okay. I mean, unless Leeds somehow win every single game between now and the end of the season, but I don't see them doing that. I mean, I still think they're a pretty good team. Even though I've said that I think we were far better than them, but I think you can see that they have got some weaknesses that you can take advantage of there. It's interesting actually if you can compare the 2 styles because Daniel Farke is someone who he could have ended up being our manager. I think if you were going to go for the most risk-free appointment you could make if you're in the Championship this season, it was Daniel Farke. That's no criticism, by the way. The reason why he's the least risky is he's won the Championship twice with a decent to good team that was probably expected to get promoted or had a good squad of players with Norwich. So he knows the division inside out. So to be honest with you, even though he got a lot of flack earlier on from Leeds, I don't think it's that much of a surprise that now towards the end, they've gone on like a big run and they've managed to, they're probably going to get promoted because they've got an experienced manager that knows how it is. And if you look at the way that they play, it's kind of interesting because they play a bit more direct, hence, be able to kind of get goals out of nowhere and a bit more physical. Whereas Leicester, we go for this more technical style, which was the risk. But if it pays off, you've got like the higher ceiling. So I still feel that about the teams. And I still think that, if you look at the progress, if that game ended on 80 minutes, we'd be saying that's one of the best displays we've seen. And a team that won 8 in a row and they just got completely played off the park on their own patch. But unfortunately, that is not how it's ended. So it'd be interesting to see what some of these other, like maybe listen to Benjamin Bloom or second tier pods, what they have to say about the game afterwards in terms of what they think about it. They'll probably reference the XG there. So that's interesting and see what those style is. But I think we should be okay. But like I say, I mean, there are some nerve-wracking games coming up. They're not going to be easy. We just got to hope that the players are unaffected by it. But that is 2 losses in a row. Although the Borough game we lost to a superb free kick. But this is one where I think
target 2 goals. It was, but at the same time, that was more our own mistakes in the game as well. Fast giving the ball away early in position.
Well, Borough, we never really got going, though, I felt like. Even though towards the end, we got a goal back and we started making opportunities. We made a lot of opportunities, in fact. We still made so many misplaced passes throughout the whole game that the move broke down that it was very frustrating. This game was so... We were passing it through the lines absolutely beautifully. We were cutting them apart, finding the space, making the chances. We just didn't take them. So that was frustrating. And then we've fallen apart at the end. So... we've actually lost this by more than the Borough game, but we played much better in this game. That's definitely the thing. But look, at the end of the day, where we are right now, the reality is we'd take 10 crap wins in a row. And then, we can worry about being saucy again later. So that's the reality.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
We've got to just
the pressure is going to go on.
But again, you make sense where this is the moment of truth for the team. What are we going to do from here? Are we going to capitulate and go down that route, or are we going to kind of get ourselves together? Because, we are just in this weird position. Such a good position, but we shouldn't be feeling this upset. But we understand why this situation is as well. And maybe it was a bitter thing to end on. The referee had a shocker today. And I know
he definitely did, right? We can give 2 things that we could definitely feel aggrieved for. Number one, in the first half, he booked Ricardo when he clearly got the ball. He got there quite early as well. I don't even think there was much follow through, if any. You could say he kind of like goes to the ground and puts his feet like that, but he's not even got his studs showing. So I cannot understand. They made several challenges that if we got a yellow, they should have got a yellow for.
Kamara had a few of them that
Yeah.
more than them. He had at least 4 that I can think before he even got a yellow.
So that's the number one. And then the second one, although look, I just want to say this. We did not lose today because we were unlucky, right? That is not what we're saying. And we're also not saying that we lost today because of the referee. We're not saying that. We're saying we Leicester lost today because our team didn't take the chances that they created. That's why we lost. But we did have a goal that was ruled out for offside, where the replay clearly shows that it comes off the Leeds player's chest. It drops the Daka and he puts it in, and that would be 2-0. So the referee and the linesman didn't have a great game in that regard, but not the reason that we lost.
It wasn't. It wasn't, but at the same time, it just rubs salt in the wound, just knowing that again another goal went in, and also again a card that could have been another card, and the fact that that wasn't equally distributed across the pitch as well. I'm gonna have to go and sleep on this one. And you got any other thoughts before we finish, because it's just there is probably more to get out of this game, and there is so many other bits, but it's just there's so many bits I want to mention, but almost what certain seems irrelevant at certain times because of what happened towards the end of the game. Because normally when we analyze the games, we go this happened, all these little things are positive, which led to the big thing. But because all these little things, it doesn't matter because you lost and you capitulated in such a way.
Yeah, but I would still no. I think there is still positives to end on. This is what you should remember, because if let's put ourselves in a position, as you said with Enzo, you said what you would do immediately after the game is you'd make them listen to that noise and really like try and focus that in a positive way. If this is how bad it can feel, and like use that to channel it, to give yourself that extra half a yard in the final 10 when you really need it, to focus your attention when you really want to put that goal away. So remember that and react. And we could see, especially in the league game, that we bounce back with almost like a ruthless edge because we're so pissed that we lost this one. That's what I really hope will happen.
That's what I'm hoping for as well.
But then that's how I'd start the message today. They'll probably have the day off tomorrow. But then when they come back in for training, what I would do is I'd get the video and I would show them still, I'd focus on the positives to begin with. And they'd be like, look how well the system was working. Look how we were bouncing the passes and picking the space and picking them apart. This is absolutely brilliant. This is why we've got to keep faith. And we're going to play like this, even though we gave away some mistakes at the end. Who's with me? Hopefully everyone raises their hand. Mavididi, at the end of training, you've got to stay back for half an hour until you score 10 one-on-ones. That could the same. I'm not even joking. If they're not doing it themselves, I would insist that all of those front three have to go there and practice their one-on-one finishing. Because you've just got to get it out of your system and you've got to start getting good at it. And to be honest with you, Neil, I do also think Fatawa needs to do that. Like, we do give him a lot of praise because he's a young player, but you do have to say that for someone who we are going to be spending quite a lot of money on, he has not scored enough goals in the championship season for the amount of games that he's played, right? And why is that? You've got to work on it. It's the same thing, because the thing is the front three. Or like, I would almost think that if I'm playing against Leicester, would you know what, maybe you can give Fatawa a bit more space because he might do something, but he's not actually going to score the goal. You just got to watch out for the pass, not the goal. So this is what I mean about the front three. You've got to be clinical there. It's going to affect us. So work on that and move forward. But no need to. I think there was enough of a display there, though. We did actually look really, really damn good. So there's a lot to be positive on. But come on, boys, please, can you bounce back for the fans? That was really not much fun. And I really have a lot of sympathy for the fans that traveled away to that as well. Because hostile place to go to, and you're gonna be getting all of that in your face afterwards. And
you're just raging. And the thing is, there's so many little things that we could pick up on. The fact that Ricardo played in the high 8, and I think he did really well linking up with the position. I think in that position,
Hamza pretty good all round. I think. Yeah,
I agree. James Justin marks none throughout the game. These are little things I want to mention as well. KDH at the first, I think, 10 minutes or so, taking on 2 defenders, and he fell over. But the intent, we've not seen that. We've seen him dribbling, but that level of, do you know what, I'll knock it past you and I'll give it a go.
I thought he was our best player today, Kiernan Dewsbury. Yeah, I can't really fault him. I mean, maybe something will give away and it turns out he gave a goal away or something, but I don't think so. I can only remember positivity from him, grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and he just looked quality. I mean, they couldn't handle him. He was very, very good. Ricardo was generally good. He did make some bad decisions defensively at times, but he seemed to get away with it. He also made some good blocks, to be fair to him. Winks, the same, was kind of average. He made some mistakes, but also did some good stuff. I remember him making a great challenge against Nyoto.
Do you think he went a bit lull in the game? Not that the game passed him by, but I think because he sets his standards so high that sometimes Harry Winks grabs the game by the scruff of the neck, and you can find some examples of you could make a Winks is too good for the championship.
Yeah.
What he's done. Were there that many moments today where I was like, yes, that's
he
the
did
way.
have one though. He got one where he
ahead.
received it. He received it and he flicked it over his head.
Oh,
and
that
he
one,
turned.
yeah.
That was too good for the championship. But just to answer your question, because that is a good argument. To be totally honest, I think I would have to watch the game back again to see if you had a point there. But I don't think so. To be honest with you, maybe that was an issue with the way that we played because we didn't necessarily look for him from the pass out as often as we could have done. And maybe we did that because they targeted him pretty strongly in the first game. But put it this way, like the goals that we conceded, if you look at them, what's happened is that someone's dwelt on the ball for too long or they've made a bad option. So actually, they should have played it into Winks. Now, was it that he was under pressure so he couldn't receive the pass? That's why I need to watch the game again, because perhaps the argument is he wasn't making himself available to receive the ball so that we can get ourselves out of trouble. But I believe, if memory serves me correctly, that is not the case. So I don't think so. I do know what you mean, that like he did give the ball away a few times today, which is a bit unlike him. Not massively, but it's not like one of those games where he has like 95% passing accuracy. But I don't think like, if I'm being honest, I think two things. One, we didn't take the chances when we got them, but towards the end, I think Vestergaard had he had an awful last 10, 15 minutes. I think he might even have been at fault for all 3 goals. So that's pretty bad of him to do that. I'll check back again.
Because he's got 2 games now where he's actually suspended.
Yeah.
Do you think that's come a good time for him?
Maybe. Do you know what I think will help is that one of those games will be Hull where they might come at us. Because Vestergaard, he's still really good at making the play and controlling the tempo. And he was good at that. And he had such an interesting game because I think for the first 75 minutes, he was really good. There's at one point where even the commentator said, what a game Vestergaard's having. He was like winning challenges. He was excellent defensively. So he had something about him.
Tackles. He was on his feet. He was commanding that back line, not through like shouting, but by leading by example.
Yeah. And that's what you want him to be throughout the whole game. So it's even more appalling that he fell apart there. So that's frustrating. So yeah, it's a different one. So to answer your question, I mean, I feel that when we play the teams that sit back of 2 banks, he's really good to have in the team. Will QPR do that against us? I'm not so sure because their new manager, they like to have a go. So it may not be so impactful. And I think Hull themselves will be challenging for the playoffs. And look, they sat back against us when we played them at the King Power, but I don't think they'll go that way this time around because I just think they know it won't work. So it might be okay, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, with anyone in our squad, even Dewsbury Hall, I think we've got a good enough squad that it doesn't matter. I would always have us down as the favourite. And we have now played, in my opinion, the 3 hardest games that we can play, which is Southampton away, we won. Ipswich away, we drew but could have won. And Leeds away, which is this video, which I want to delete from my memory. But unfortunately, I have a feeling I'll probably remember 5 years from now because it's one of those.
Such a strange game. Such a strange game.
Now we've got all of these out of the way. Really, there is no game we can play that should, on paper, be as difficult as this, unless somehow we fluke our way to the FA Cup and play Man City away or something like that.
This is my next. I'm with you. I think the only thing I've got ahead of this next game, now that Vestergaard is suspended, would you put in, as we've seen before, Fast in the middle, Nelson to the right, or would you put it so you do a straight swap for Cody?
This time round, I actually would put Cody in, not because he's necessarily good on the ball, but if literally we've just said that we've shat the bed, then what we need to do is we need to put someone in the team that isn't going to shit the bed. Now, I don't know, to be honest with you, with Connor Cody. He might also do it. He's not played that much football, right? But on paper, he's always come down as being like an excellent leader and a captain. And that's why people said we needed that influence. That's one of the mentality issues that people have talked about. I know that Harry Winks was signed to have like a good influence as well, but I've never really heard of him being like a captain level material for a team. You know, maybe he could grow into
He
that one.
could
What,
be,
you know?
but he's not the Wes Morgan was a captain, but he wasn't the loud. He wasn't the loud, enthusiastic. He was more of the quiet, reserved. We know what we're doing type. And I think Harry Winks fits into that mold a little bit more. I think he's a leader, and I think he's a good influence on other people. But I don't think he's that. Let me grab the gate. Well, he does grab the gate, but he's not a shouter.
It's interesting that you mentioned that though, because that is like a really good thing. Is I've got to say, Wes Morgan is such an interesting character because he would never shout, but it was very rare that we'd have these shit the bed moments of Wes Morgan in the team. Why
Mm,
was that? And then then sometimes I actually used to think at the time, do you know what? I think it's he's the captain, but like the real captain is Casper Schmeichel or maybe Robert Huth. But then Wes Morgan left, and then that Spurs game, that was Casper Schmeichel in goal. So is he the leader? I'm not so sure, right? Was it Hoof? I think Hoof was good. I did notice him. You know, Fuchs was quite good at that as well, to be honest with you. We
Fuchs
just
was
had more
really good.
like calm head, but here's the problem. So I'm trying to kind of solve the question. So yeah, I'm saying I would put Cody in because rather than Nelson, certainly, or even Fast, because I think we just need that calm head. I think that's what we missed today. Maybe that's what we've learned about our defenders is that they are good for a lot of it, but the thing that they're lacking, I think Wout Fast definitely struggles from this, is that when they're under pressure, they just can't keep their cool, and that's easier said than done. I'll put my hands up and say that I'm one of those people that I completely lose it on the football pitch emotionally when you're not that, when you need that cool as a cucumber type thing, which maybe is why Wes Morgan was good because maybe he didn't feel the pressure. So I would put him into the team for that reason. And I guess what I'm saying though, especially if we're going to go upper league where it's going to be even more high pressure and it could be way more tense for longer, is I would like us to somehow solve that, but I don't know what the answer is. There's two ways. One, that your team just naturally over time gets used to adversity and they get better at it. But you know, my friend, he's an Arsenal supporter, so we watched the Porto game this week. And what
Mm.
happened is Porto beat Arsenal. And Arsenal, one of the best teams in Europe right now, but they haven't won a Champions League knockout stage game for, I think, 8 years or something ridiculous like that. And what happened again is they shat the bed. It's like you played
Zero
the
shots on target.
yeah. And you saw them playing. You're like, what's going on here? What are, these guys are not? They're not even. This it looked like they were scared. But to be honest with you, maybe it's because a team like that they've got young players. So, but we don't have that many young players. To be honest with you, like Ricardo's like 30, isn't he? Harry Winks is 28. Mavadidi's 26. So we shouldn't really be doing that. So let's just call it because this has been a depressing one. But I would say putting Cody. Look, actually, let's give it credit. First game is the FA Cup game. For the FA Cup game, I still think I would rotate because now that Tuesday game is way more important. So I would
It's
love for us to go a deep run in the cup, but I don't want to see us go into the playoffs. So just bin
it's a
that off
shame
if
that
we have to.
Will.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Will Alves is injured because I think that would have been the kind of game where like again we're a little bit down from there. Let's see what he can do, but he's out for 3 to 4 weeks now. Bring in a couple of other players, the similar system. It looks again. I think we saw a video. It looks like the under-23s are playing in the same way that Enzo wants them to as
Yeah.
well.
Is it time for Brandon Cover? Is that what we're saying?
Bring him back out. I think he had a fantastic ball for Jamie Vardy. Just as kind of what's it called? Looking at some other bits because Enzo's always commentary on BBC Radio Leicester,
Go on.
and the picture is, as you can imagine, it's proper Gollum mode actually.
Yeah, he's emotional.
Yeah, he's not in a good place, and I'm with him.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had so many chances to score the goal. Football is the matter of just taking them. I think that's literally pretty much what we've said the entire time, but the imagery is hilarious.
They'll be loving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
So
as he said, that would be is kind of right that it'd be a huge game for Leeds, not so much for us, but it is still a big game for us. I think that was a bit cheeky, but there you go. All right, well, congrats. They've done the double over us. I can't remember the last time they did a league double over us.
no, it's going back years now. It's going back
Yeah.
quite a few years.
I'm
But
not
I
sure
know
even
again,
in the
thanks.
championship. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
it might have been. Any final thoughts? But apart from just, ugh,
Yeah, I would just say this is to the fan base, really, is that like, Leicester fan is never easy. To be honest, it's never easy being a fan of any club. Maybe Man City, it might be easy. But for the rest of us, is you're going to have ups and downs. This is a really frustrating result. It feels absolutely awful. But we showed a lot in this game where we played really, really good. So get behind the team, get behind the lads. If you're going to the game on Tuesday, it's really important that we give them support. That we all want the same thing, which is the return to the Premier League. We are a Premier League team. It's a travesty that we went down. Please believe in the manager. Even some of the players who put in less than ideal performances today, yep, look, maybe they need to be subbed, whatever. But anyone who represents the team, let's try and get behind them. I like to be a glass half full, which is ironic because it is literally empty next to me because I'm drinking out of anger. But I'm still I'm optimistic though, Neil, because I know that I can go out of this door, head down my hallway to my fridge, and I can get myself probably something alcoholic to subdue this pain. Exactly. So come on, guys, let's do that. I think that's important. I actually don't like these fan channels where people rant and rave and things like that. I actually think that's something that's really good about Beyond the Night. You try and look at it both ways and even try and give the opposition credit where it's due. We even said that in today's game, even though we don't feel they deserve to win, you've got to say that after they got the goal, they stepped on it and they got 3 and they made that happen. Like, it's not just that we gave them the goal. So fair play, get behind the lads. Come on, we're still going up.
This is our Arsenal moment. This is the time we get together as a team and we make sure we're going. We know where the summit is. We're in. I think 12 games. I think that's it now.
Yeah,
and one game at a time. The next game against QPR for the league, and that's all that really matters. If you enjoyed the game, again, thank the like, subscribe. All the things again are in all the links to everything. I'm all over the place. God, it's so late at night now. But again, appreciate Anna for joining. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you all in the next.